Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Swass-Cast. We're back here in the Matt Cave for our annual team up with the Secret Identity podcast with
Matman
and Brian. And my sidekick, as always,
Keith Gleason.
How are you the sidekick? I thought you were the star.
Wow.
A whole episode about you today.
Wow.
Great.
Wow, look at that. All right, we'd also like to promote the Hero Envy blog. Go to heroenvy.blogspot.com where you can and read all our exhaustive blogs, the most information you'll find on any given segment. And please follow Keith on Twitter for his daily rants and news about the RSP crew at twitter.com/SwassAdventures.
I think my favorite part of the whole thing was you reading that heartfelt promo right off a piece of paper. You didn't even feel it enough to memorize it. Yeah. You just said, to read Keith's insightful blog, you got to go to this.
Keith has informed me that he has something called a tweeter, and he would like you to follow.
All right, now we're going to start our top three 80s comedies of all time. Remember, they have to be in the decade of 1980 to 1989. So Brian, we're going to have Brian usually starts off.
Oh, that's perfect.
Start off with number 3, explain it, and we'll move on from there.
You know what I just realized is that the whole format of this show is polarizing. Because you're basically saying, of all the decade of the 1980s, we're going to tell you what the 3 best movies was. Well, no one will get upset about that.
No.
No one will disagree with any of us around here.
I'm going to start my letter right now. How could you leave this movie off your list?
Right? That movie was not funny at all. It was like a horror movie.
All right, Brian, come on, number 3.
My first one, I would say number 3 on these list of 3 that I have here, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Classic.
Yeah. Never liked
1986.
Never liked it.
As a child who was, probably in middle school at the time, Ferris Bueller was a superhero to me. I mean, the whole idea of him breaking the fourth wall, basically showing you the wonderful things that could happen if you figured out a way to deceive your parents into letting you stay home from school. That, to me, just sung to me when I was a kid. Like that, I have probably seen that movie 1,000 times. Ironically, though, my favorite character, not Ferris Bueller, it's Cameron.
Yeah.
Cameron.
Yeah. And that did that with a lot of people.
Made that movie for me.
Yeah, there were a lot of people. I mean, that's a legendary movie. Unfortunately, I never got into it. Like I said, I don't know what it was. I watched it. It's entertaining, but it never really appealed to me.
Do you read me?
Yeah, I mean,
you're not buying a P's and Q's, mister.
That movie is so quotable. You were like Dirty Harry.
I liked it, but I don't own it because I've seen it so many times.
Rudy! Oh!
What about the Ferris Bueller TV show? Remember that shit?
What about the Ferris
Jennifer
Bueller
Aniston.
doppelganger, Parker Lewis Camp?
Parker Lewis, which was not horrible.
Which starred Corin Nemec, who later went on to be in Stargate SG-1 and appear at a Big Apple Comic-Con.
Oh, that's right. We did see him there, didn't we?
Yep.
All right,
and I was too starstruck by Parker Lewis to go back to the interview.
I wanted to ask him if he knew the guy from Herman's Head, because that was a far superior show.
I love that show.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so Ferris Bueller, first one.
All right, Keith, number 3.
Number 3, National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah. Yep.
No arguments there.
Chevy Chase in his prime.
My only problem with that movie is my father is Clark W. Griswold. So when I watch that movie, people are laughing all over the place. I'm like, that's every day for me.
That was every family vacation for us.
That's my dad.
Especially the freak out when he has at the end. That was one of my favorite parts.
I think I stabbed my brain.
When the kid is... He says to his family, you know what you think? I think you're all fucked in the head.
Sorry, sir. Park's closed out front. Luke's out front should have told you.
He's stirring the Kool-Aid with this whole arm.
And I think the thing we're going to find out about all these movies is every one of those has quotes that we use all the time. Because anytime anybody pulls out ketchup, the first thing I say, real tomato ketchup?
And I know everyone loves Christmas Vacation, but not... I mean, I like it, but I think it's not as good as the
first
original.
Well, that's because in the original, Rusty and Audrey were the definitive Rusty and Audrey.
Best.
And I think that, for me, it was always... Beverly D'Angelo and Chevy Chase were always awesome in every movie.
Yeah.
For me, it was all about how good were Rusty and or Audrey
exactly.
in each particular movie.
When he dived in the water, it was so cold.
Yeah. That's my dad. That's my dad.
All right, Matman, number 3.
But didn't you get yours?
We got to.
Oh, you're gonna skip.
I skip. Go to you.
Number 3 is a movie I think one or two of us are gonna probably have on the list. Better Off Dead. To me, when I saw that movie, I saw it in the drive-in.
You just stole my number 2.
All right, don't.
And when I saw it, it was just one of those things where all of a sudden I'm looking up, going, "There is a hamburger playing Everybody Wants Some with an Eddie Van Halen guitar as French fries are jumping into a vat of grease.
That's your Savage Steve Holland right there.
Oh, my God.
I completely
about
flipped
that
out.
movie.
It's another one of those things where if I ever saw somebody like, dirty or something, man, it's a shame when white folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that. There are so many quotables in that movie too. Just a perfect movie. If you ever want to sit down and just laugh,
The
that
Howard
is it.
Cosell Asian.
Oh, in fact, I have the quote right here. Truly a sight to behold. A man beaten, the once great champ, now a study in moppishness. No longer the victory-hungry stallion we've read so many times before, but a pathetic, washed-up, aged ex-champion. And what was better than
John Cusack?
He's sitting at a stoplight, just
Yeah.
minding his own business, and the car pulls up right next to him, and the two of them are just looking at him.
And all of a
What
sudden you see
do we have here?
And he's
Yeah,
got
you
that
see
poor
the
French
friggin',
exchange student girl in the
And
back.
he's like, and that's what I love about that movie is he is just constantly a victim of the things that are happening. Like he's just sitting at a stoplight and he's like, "Oh, here we go."
And
Or
the
he
funny
opens the
thing-
door. $2.
Yep, that's
Oh, jeez,
yep.
my mom
And
broke her
another
arm and
funny
the
thing about
microwave's
that
blowing
movie-
up in a. I don't have a dime, Ricky. Didn't ask for a dime.
$2.
Yeah.
5 papers or 10 papers, 2 weeks, $2.
Yeah, that was
Switchblade comb.
And they would
Switchblade
never
comb.
make that movie now.
No.
So Brian, wait, this was your number 2?
This is my number 2.
Wow, look at that. You guys think alike.
But
We
I'll
do.
back that up with a different one when you come back to me.
All right, okay.
Cool.
Now, my number 3. Now, it wasn't as popular as some of these other things, but I thought it was so funny, and I loved it as a kid because when I saw Thor in it, it was unbelievable. Adventures in Babysitting.
Very good movie.
Little Sarah Connor, when she was
Yep.
obsessed, and she wore like the... It's funny, because today you see Mjolnir and all that stuff in stores and
Yep.
Thor capes. When I was a kid and I saw that, I was like, where can I get that hammer? Where can I get that hat? You know, it was just so awesome. And she had the Jack Kirby prints up on the wall.
Yep.
The movie itself was great, too. The the writing, the font the font on like the mechanic's truck and all that was the actual Thor. The Thor.
It's the one you don't know what that font is, but that's like
with
Thor
the little
font.
cracks. Yeah, the little. It was awesome. And then when she saw Thor and she thought it was him, and then she like goes. I thought that was awesome. So just because of the Thor and do any of you know? There's a good little bit of trivia here. She's reading the comic before they go into the city. Now, but when they're going into the city, she's saying all the superheroes live there. This, him, and him. I used to do that when I went into Boston when I was a child.
There we go. Because all the superheroes live in Boston.
But do you guys remember the
Right.
do you remember the comic that
I remember
she
reading
was
it. I just don't remember
Like
which one.
Sully.
It was the very
Champion.
first. I don't remember the exact issue, but it was the very first Walter Simonson Thor fighting Beta Ray Bill. The very first. Whoever holds his hammer will possess the power
Yeah.
of Thor. But I think it was 360. I don't know 260.
I don't read
but it
Thor,
was that.
so-
But regardless,
Yeah, look around and there's no Thor in here at all.
Who is the actress whose name?
Oh, that would be Elizabeth Shue.
Elizabeth Shue,
Awesome.
who was also in the completely overlooked, tragically overlooked Piranha 3D.
She was awesome in it.
Fantastic. in that
Tragically,
movie.
I agree.
Now, it's
K&B
interesting-
Effects is
it's
one of their greatest achievements.
It is interesting that with all the great things that came out of that movie, that's what you fixate on is the Thor. The Thor! The Thor!
I was
Elizabeth
just.
Shue was awesome. Then you had,
I was
the
in
cast
awe.
was amazing.
I was in awe.
It was a great story.
Okay.
Thor!
All right, before we go to your new number 2, nobody leaves here without singing the blues.
There we go.
All right, go ahead.
So you said Better Off Dead.
Yep.
So I will replace that then with One Crazy Summer.
Which I am not
Which is
a
another
fan of
Savage
at
Steve
all.
Ellie.
Not a fan
You,
of
sir, are insane.
Yeah.
Where John Cusack, again,
I like that
played
one.
hoops in this one. A kid who was named because obviously his parents wanted him to be good at basketball, but he was awful. And he was an artist, and it had, instead of the claymation, it had some animated sequences in it. And he goes to, I think it's Nantucket for the summer. Bobcat Goldthwait
Who I love.
and the guy from Popcorn.
Yeah.
Are the two brothers that work in the mechanics shop there, and the guy from the Twisted Sister videos is the rich socialite whose son becomes the rival of Hoops. And then Hoops' best buddy, who I can't remember his name off the top of my head, his uncle,
That'd be
who was
Balls.
constantly trying to win the radio contest.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
it was Charlie. Charlie, what the hell are you doing in here? Leave me alone! Shut the door! He'd start screaming at him because he's always like freaking out. He's got his ashtray full of cigarettes, and it could be now or now or.
And doesn't he miss it at the end?
Yeah, he carries the radio. Carries the radio into the bathroom and drops it in the tub and blows him out the side of the house and stuff like that. Classic movie.
All right, there it is. Keith, you're number two.
My number two. I think most of you guys might have seen this one. Skin Deep. Remember the big thing? Comedy that glows in the dark. That was the big tagline.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes, but I'm trying to. I'm trying not to forget that now.
Keith, yeah, absolutely. All right, Matman, number two.
Number two is a movie that was funny, hysterical, but had a lot of sad stuff in it. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
Now, I was a freshman going into high school at that time, so I looked at that movie and said, that is what I want my high school life to be like. You look at
Phoebe Cates.
Phoebe Cates. I mean, other than I've still been in love with her to this day.
Ooh,
but
for me, my Phoebe Cates movie was Gremlins.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, just what her character went through was awful. And, you know, you can relate to every single character in there. You've got Damone, you know, you got to schwander up to him, and, you know, she'll have the linguine and clam sauce, and, you know, you got to order from him. And, you know, I knew that kid. And just an amazing movie.
It's legendary, too.
When you look past a lot of the tragedies that are in it, I mean, the tragedies of just the breakups, the losing your jobs, all that stuff right there, it is hysterical. There are still so many things I quote from that one, too.
Yeah, that's a classic.
It's a classic. All right, for me, my number two.
Look at the tech.
I gotta go with. I know compare that, man. I'm Brian.
Just don't say my movie. I don't care what.
All right, this is a classic. Everybody, probably somebody's gonna have this. I hope not. Caddyshack.
Oh,
go with Caddyshack.
Caddyshack.
For one reason.
No.
No. That's all good, but for one reason.
I was.
I broke my arm. I broke Rodney Dangerfield.
You know what? As much as I love Rodney, when I watch that movie, I gotta say, Ted Knight just steals
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well,
He's
we're
so,
waiting.
Yeah, he's so good.
I mean, that's classic.
When he's like, when the kid, he's like, get dressed. We're gonna go play golf. And he's like,
I want a
but
ham-
Dad, what about my asthma? He's like, I'll give you asthma.
I want a
Oh, when
hamburger.
the kid's drinking, remember the kid's drinking like all the thing, and he drinks the thing with the half of a cigarette
was
in it.
Spalding.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And that's something where anytime we walk into a restaurant, I will sit there and look at the menu and go, I want a hamburger? No. I want a hot dog? No. I want a... And anytime anybody talks, like when I was still in school last year, and you know, you got all these college kids looking to graduate. We're already graduating. I'm going to do this with my degree. I'm going to do this. Well, the world needs ditch diggers too, you know.
I have a good little piece of trivia. Information on that movie. Who's the girl, the pretty girl in that movie? Remember the
Which one?
in Caddyshack?
The one that was
she was
the judge.
Lacey Underall?
No, she was the judge's.
Or Molly. How'd you have the short talk to me holy cards?
Yeah,
that was her. I don't know the actress.
The one that was.
It was Lacey Underall was her name in the movie.
Chevy Chase in the movie. And then with also the kid.
Yeah,
that was
I met her at a convention, and I went up to her, and I was like, you know, she's just sitting there all alone. Nobody cared. It was pretty hard to see. But
she's not listening right now.
I don't think so.
She's the one who wrote those comments on the last.
Yeah, wait till you get the next one.
Probably.
I hate that guy even more.
But I said to her, I asked her, how was Rodney like off camera and stuff, and she said, you wouldn't believe it. He goes, but he was so nervous before every scene, because, you know, him coming from comedy, doing the take after take thing, he just said it was so hard for him. He goes, he was shaking and sweating. And I go, that's so amazing, because when you watch him, you can't even notice a hint of any.
No, it feels like he literally just walked on in the middle
and
of
just was having a good,
said his piece and.
But she said, and that's what I said. She goes, no, he was so scared and so nervous, and he said he was shaking.
My favorite Rodney line from the movie in the beginning when he's with his Japanese limo driver, and he's like, "Hey Wang, it's a little restrictive in here, so don't tell him you're Jewish, all right?"
All right, Brian, number one.
So my number one is Airplane.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, come on. But wait a second. That's 1970.
No, it's 1980.
Isn't it? Okay, all right.
The greatest comedy of all time,
and one of the best slapstick comedies of all time.
I didn't know movies could be like that until I saw that movie, and it was every 5 seconds in that movie something is happening. And they have like an actual theme that runs through the movie, but it's the paper thin plot, obviously. But so much happens in that movie that you could watch it a million times and learn something new every time that you watch that movie. Stuff like when Robert Stack walks into the airport and everybody's coming up to him with pamphlets and he's just beating the crap out of everybody that comes up. So funny.
We throw the Hare Krishna guy too.
Yeah, exactly. Like he comes in with his glasses on, he takes his glasses on,
and he's got the smaller face.
But like he comes in like angry, and they're all, "Sir, can I?" Whoa, bam! He's throwing guys left and right. So funny. Lloyd Bridges.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
It's like I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue. I mean, I probably have said that to this day.
You ever watch
Still say that all the
Gladiator
time.
movies?
Yep.
Yes. I wrote down one of the. Yeah.
How'd they get away
Joey,
with that?
yeah.
Back then?
Do
It's
you
so
like
good.
movies about gladiators?
Grown men without their shirts
Captain
on.
Albert. Let's see.
When I watched that on 38, it was the first time I ever saw
Yeah.
it. When they were just slapping that lady, but then the whole line. I mean, that
with
I
the
was laughing.
lead pipe.
Yeah, you got
gloves.
the old lady with the gun with.
It is as close to a perfect movie as I think you can get. Like that. To
And
me,
wasn't Police Squad based off that? Like all that
It was
stuff?
that whole slapstick.
It's that same
slapstick,
people.
well, it started,
I
you
think
know, and then
that's
later
Brothers.
on you had Hot Shot. Top Secret was another.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
That was a
It's
great
no
one.
Airplane, but
Yeah.
Airplane 2?
Probably. Other
Airplane
than Real
was there.
Genius, that was Val
Swans.
Kilmer's finest work.
Yeah.
Was-
The,
Airplane was their ultimate movie, I think.
I picked Airplane as my number one, so I'll just add a
Yeah.
couple things with
Okay.
that. With the thing with Leslie Nielsen was he was such a serious actor
To
going
that
into
time,
it.
yes.
And I remember him from all these westerns that he did, where he was always the guy that, you know, General, we don't want you going in there and stirring up stirring up the nest. He'd be the guy to go in there and wipe out a bunch of natives. And he was a bad guy. So seeing him in this role, I remember being completely uncomfortable. I saw it in the theater because being those guys were from Connecticut.
One of my early cinema memories is
It was
seeing
a-
Airplane.
it was
My
big
mother
news.
covering my eyes.
Yeah,
like
when the lady
shit
jumped in
hits
front of the
fan
screen.
and all that stuff.
But all the flashbacks, how the timelines are so completely screwed up. Where he's like, you know, we were on a mission and we were driving down there, and you know, you're seeing a guy that obviously was in his 20s, but he's talking about a World War II reference.
Yeah.
And Reb Brown, who played Captain America in the TV series,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
in
yeah.
that because he was the guy that Stryker was painting.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
can I
Oh,
finish
yeah,
these
that's.
up? That was him.
Oh my god.
But the people that Julie Haggerty.
How about when
Oh,
he's
yeah.
when he's walking in front of the wall and the spotlight hits him and he starts singing?
Yep.
Or
But the guy to me who stole the whole thing was Johnny. You know, Johnny, what do you make of this?
Oh,
this, I can make a hat, a brooch,
Yep.
a pterodactyl, give me that. There's problems on the plane. Johnny, what is it? It's big, white with a red stripe. Looks like a big Tylenol.
the fog's getting thicker and Leon's getting
getting
larger.
larger.
And he jumps off camera.
But that
Yep, so
also
awesome.
changed. That made Leslie Nielsen. That made him a star.
That
because
started his
it
second career.
Yeah, because he
Then you
became a
had
comedy
Police Squad.
guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
Which
the Naked Gun
probably the most
movies.
underappreciated television comedy of all time. It got canceled like
6 episodes.
6
Yep.
episodes.
And the blow up doll that was all over her.
Oh, it's
All that
hysterical.
stuff.
But you know,
fantastic.
as a,
Kareem
Yeah.
Abdul-Jabbar.
when he
and
pulled
he
the
yells
kid
at the
from-
little
Yeah.
kid. Right?
Yeah.
Look, kid, I've been hearing that crap since I left UCLA. You try to post up Lambeer and Walton for 60 minutes a day. Tell your
Yeah.
father to do that. The kid's like, sorry, but as a young kid, so that came out when I was about 12 years old. And when you're that old, you're starting to develop your sense of humor and you're starting to kind of
Right,
figure out
yeah.
what kind of person you are. That movie spoke to me because that's my type of humor.
Yeah.
I'm slapstick. I'm stupid. I'm Three Stooges.
And you heard it
And
here
turkey
first,
cooking.
an exclusive. The Secret Identity's greatest movie of the 80s is Airplane. And they
Yeah.
tied each other on.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's great.
All right,
Completely
Keith,
independent.
number one.
All right, number one is for me. I think it's a classic, but it's one of my favorite comedies. I think it's hysterical from beginning to end. Bachelor Party.
Oh, yeah.
And I still think it's Tom Hanks'
That's
best
another one I
movie.
quote all over
He
the
does
place.
Saving Private Ryan.
Yep.
and all
I'm
this
going to
stuff.
disagree with you on that last part, but that's my honorable mention coming up in a second.
Oh,
Wow, that's
one
such
of
a
my
great
Party
movie.
is
favorite
fantastic.
movies of
Did-
all time.
Adrian's Med. I mean,
It has-
I looked at him going, how is that guy not like the biggest star of all
Oh
time?
my god! And I love
Was
like
he T.J. Hooker?
80s
Yeah, he was on
movies
T.J.
with,
Hooker.
with pranks and all that crap, and that's one of my favorites.
It captured the moment of like a real bachelor party
Yeah.
with all these little things thrown. You don't get. It had substance too, because you also cared for Tom Hanks in
Yep.
that movie. You know, like.
And Tawny Kitaen before
Yeah.
she became Tawny Kitaen.
Oh man,
Who was great in Witchboard, by the way.
Yeah.
and who was one of the hottest women on the planet at that
Yep.
time too.
One of the best pranks, the full moon. They're like, there's a full
That's a
moon
great
tonight, and the
movie.
guy
Let's open
falls.
the-
His ass is like right in their face as they're about to kiss. So
How about,
they kissed
oh,
his
wow.
ass.
I got 2 honorable mentions now.
and then like the hot dog pot.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm Nick.
Is it Nick Kostelopoulos? Is it Nick? Mr. Dick. It's Nick.
She pees standing up.
I also do
handcuffed
body
to
work on BMWs.
Yeah, and that was a movie everybody talked about in high school and all
Yeah.
that stuff,
Yeah.
and then like
And none of us should have been able to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
How did we see it other than cable?
Tom Hanks was so good when he was being funny
Yeah.
that when he stopped being funny, I don't like him anymore. Like I don't like, and he's most well known now for his dramatic roles,
Yeah.
but I like stopped liking him.
Well,
he stopped
that's
doing
funny, but
movies. And same thing with like
right.
Jim
I know
Carrey.
he always had that sense of humor, but the thing about what I loved about Bat Spy, because that was the first time I really was ever exposed to Tom Hanks, was that you liked him though. Like that's why you cared about, and that's what I think he's still. There's something about Tom Hanks. He looks like an every guy, but no matter what he is in, it's like you like him and you care about him. That's why he can never be a bad guy. Because
I cared about him in that made-for-television movie, Mazes and Monsters.
I was just gonna say that, and they get warped up into
Which vilified one of my greatest hobbies growing up by
remember
making Tom
seeing
Hanks
that-
go insane from playing a role-playing game.
Dungeons and Dragons. I remember seeing that on the TV guide, and I was like, I gotta watch it. They think the dragon is the train.
It was. That came out right around the same time as those books that were saying that it was satanic and all this kind of stuff.
All
I
right.
can't distinguish reality from fantasy anymore.
That was so bad. And didn't he end up
Calling
going
the
crazy in that
telephone
too?
going, I don't know.
And did he end up going crazy in that too?
Yeah,
At the end?
absolutely.
He ended up
Yeah, because he lost his D20 and he freaked out. He couldn't play anymore.
Now that was a comedy, you know?
It was
Okay,
a comedy.
me, number one, all-time greatest. I have the history of my humor, whether it's distasteful or quite chippy.
Oh, yeah, this ought to be good.
Or quite chippy, but everything. Quotes, one of my top 3 most watched movies ever. And it's one of those things I'm still, if I'm making food and nothing's on TV or whatever, I put this movie in just to watch it, and I'll fast forward to some parts. Easy Money, because he had to lose weight to try to make the gain. Like his stepmother is so rich, and like he doesn't live the lifestyle that her daughter thinks he could do, because his whole body is bloodshot. It's like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. There's so many classic characters. I recommend.
I am going to go back and watch it now because
it's so good.
That wouldn't even be in my
and
top
all those
20.
people that are in
Wouldn't even be my favorite Rodney Dangerfield movie of like 1980 to 85.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's a
I
weekend
love
viewing.
it. And at the last quote in the whole end is when he's eating. She thinks he's changed his life. All this crap, and he's eating the pizza with all his boys. At the end, he goes, can't believe this. He goes, I spent my whole life trying not to kiss her face. Now I end up kissing her ass. Yeah, come on, it's great stuff. I recommend. Look we got these old bastards here, and they don't even like it. Easy Money,
Hey,
Rodney Dangerfield.
One old guy.
Yeah, not as old as you think. Yeah.
Come on, Easy Money. Check it out. That's the best of the best.
Back to School, if you're going to pick a
it honorable
Rodney
mention
Dangerfield
time?
funny movie.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
I just couldn't stand the kid.
Two honorable mentions that I thought of while we were sitting here. Number one is a Tom Hanks movie because he just had a string of hysterical comedies back in the 80s. The Man with One Red Shoe.
Oh yeah.
barely remember that one.
Love that movie where he gets mistaken for a spy. And the funniest part about that movie is that Jim Belushi is his best friend. And what happens is all these spies that are all around them the whole movie keep leaving dead bodies around. And Jim Belushi is the only one that's seeing them. And when he sees a body, he'll turn around and go tell somebody, but then when they come back, the body's gone.
Yeah.
And there's a classic scene where he's freaking out, and then they calm him down, and he's like, all right, I just got to go to the bathroom. So he goes in, and he's in the bathroom taking a leak. And as the door to the bathroom closes, there's a guy, the dead guy, hanging on the hook. And all he does is look back like twice, and he looks at the camera, and he's like, oh, come on! One of the funniest moments I've ever seen in a movie. And he is in an asylum by the end of the movie because he's lost his mind.
Yeah.
That was one. And then the
Playing
other
D&D.
one...
That's when Jim Belushi was on top of the world. He was playing a lot of roles. Later on, they wanted him to be like his brother.
They wanted him
Yeah.
to be a leading guy, but he was great as a supporting guy. He
And
was
he-
always great as a supporting cast member.
Right. And I wonder how he would have done on if True Lies was. I know Tom Arnold did great in that, but I thought Jim. He could have fit. Jim
Absolutely.
Belushi could have fit. He was great.
My second honorable mention, Night Patrol. With the unknown comic.
Yeah.
Another movie that
Police Academy knockoff.
has
It's really good.
it's a Police Academy knockoff, but it's more lewd than even Police Academy was. And
Police
it
Academies
also
were good.
has some
Isn't Dice in that one too?
some
Just
just
a
absolutely some
cameo
great
in that.
moments. I think Dice did have a cameo on that.
Yeah.
But just absurd humor the whole movie, and the unknown comic as one of the
Love the
guys
Unknown
in it.
Comic.
Yeah.
Gong
Who
Show,
everybody
man.
knows from the Gong Show.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that was really a funny movie.
Any honorable mentions?
My two honorable mentions, one that I'm surprised none of us mentioned, but in the same vein as Airplane was Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh,
Because
that's
when
a
I saw that
classic,
movie,
yeah.
that was
I
another
liked
one
that
where
when I was a kid.
I laughed from beginning to
I'm
end.
gonna have to go get you on that. I always hated Pee Wee.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I don't even know what your movie was. So.
You know what? The TV show I didn't think was great, but that movie is
Yeah, I
hysterical.
liked it
I
a
still
lot.
It had
it all the
moments.
time.
The bike. I just
And
wasn't.
that's the
into it.
only thing I ever really liked about the Pee Wee in general. I never
Yeah.
liked the show, but I liked that.
I liked
movie.
Pee Wee in Blow. Remember Blow? He was great in Blow.
And you know what? With all
He was
this,
good in Buffy the Vampire
Mystery
Slayer
Man.
too.
and I've completely,
Mystery Man.
I completely forgot my other one. So we're just gonna go with Pee Wee till I remember it. I didn't write it down.
Okay.
I didn't want
Come
anybody
back.
to see me writing because I thought it would look stupid.
Right.
Now everybody sees me looking stupid because I forgot it.
My two, Brian already mentioned one. Real Men with
Oh,
Jim
so
Belushi
good.
and John Ritter.
So good.
So absurd. The plot was they have to deliver a glass of water to an alien, but
Yes.
it's so over the top, crazy action that it makes it funny.
And they were a really good pair. in
They
that
were a
movie. They
great
played
pair
off
in
of
that.
each other
And
well.
that's that once again, like John Belushi, right? No, Jim Belushi.
Jim.
He could play that sidekick guy, but he always meshed with whoever he was acting with, like, and it was so natural.
And
like,
the thing about that movie,
even
though,
with
is-
Arnold. Remember that movie with Arnold, Red Heat?
Oh yes,
Remember Arnold
yeah,
was the
yeah.
thing, and he was like the cop, and
The funny thing about Real Men is that he played kind of against his own type in that movie because he was kind of a badass.
Yeah,
where
he was
a
the
guy-
over-the-top,
He was the
like,
guy who was the
CIA
international
guy.
man of mystery guy who was toughening up John Ritter's character through the whole movie. But it worked.
he was pretty tough in The Principal too.
Oh, I love the principal. Love the principal.
The Bat, Louis Gossett
He was great in Canine as well.
And my second honorable mention, American Ninja 2.
Oh,
That is
starring Matman. That
Dude.
guy looked like Matman when he was younger.
Now, who was that one?
you
Who was
have
in
to.
American
That
Ninja?
was Michael Dudikoff.
Oh yeah, who
You
was
guys
also in
have-
Bachelor Party.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys
he looked
have
he
to
reminded
see
me of
that.
you a little
That
bit.
Hey, that's
is
not bad. I'll take
one
it.
of the best unintentional comedies of all time.
Unintentional comedy.
Where let me just tell you the plot. The scientist who's trying to find a
you
cure for
had me at
cancer.
American Ninja.
He's trying to find a cure for cancer, and they force him into genetically altering ninja.
Yeah,
Because when you start
he
an
basically
experiment,
created the Foot Clan.
you start with ninjas. We need a subject. Well, just go
Right.
find some ninjas.
Let's start
It's
with
like
the world's
lab rats
most
and
precise
ninjas.
So
killing
bad.
machine.
They would take the bow and arrow and shoot it at Michael Dudikoff, and he would just like catch it and throw it right back at him, and it would like.
Michael Dudikoff. And wasn't Steve James? And he was in the first one. Was he in the second one?
With the black guy with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
huge
yeah.
knife.
Yeah.
Yeah. He ripped his shirt off in
Yeah.
a second. Oh my god.
So I did remember.
So funny.
I did remember, but I'm gonna throw three out really quick because once one started, two more came
Yeah.
out. A Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
really
really
good.
Brilliant
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Classic.
Coming to America.
Yes, coming to
Coming
America.
to America.
Yeah, that's
That
a great.
was
I am
good,
a loyal
although-
subject of Zamunda.
I like Golden
cracked up.
Child.
We don't
better
have arcs.
I do
myself.
too.
We have arcs.
And I can't go back and watch Coming to America. Coming to America is not doesn't
I'm a
hold
Golden
up well.
Child.
Trading
guy.
Places.
You're right.
That's a great
And
one.
Trading
too.
Places.
That's a great movie.
Classic.
Those are the ones I had to throw out really quick.
And my honorable mentions have already been mentioned
Oh, okay.
so much, so I don't actually have to say them because that's an honorable. And I'm gonna do the honorable thing, and then this one.
Oh, I thought you were just going to stab yourself and die.
No, because I was gonna say Skin Deep, absolutely real. I mean, I forgot about Skin Deep, but Skin Deep, that is the honor. That could have been on the list, and I'm disgusted that you guys don't know Easy Money. But you know what? Maybe you guys can watch that later. And
Other great 80s comedies, Zapped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So send us your favorite and be nice about it, right? Tell they're nice 80s movies that they like. And,
Yeah.
Just remember that, and no one in this group here named a movie to hurt your feelings. So, no one hated you when they made this. So
And
don't
I
hate
cry
that.
at the drop of a hat, so please do not send comments that he's going to read that are going to make me cry.
So give me a how good?
So good!